This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so this is going to be part two of the applying information video. So this is going to be part two of the applying information video, and we're going to focus pretty much on order flow and how that goes with pretty much supply and demand, because order flow really creates that supply and demand zone. So buying order flow is demand, and selling order flow is supply. So pretty much. So normally we will find order flow on the 4 hour. The only thing that we're going to look at the daily, monthly, or weekly for is just those stronger supply and demand zones, the ones that are considered to be qualified supply and demand. That means a very small base, which is a few candles, and it pretty much just looks like the market went into the area of the zone, tapped it, and completely came out. It didn't play around in it. Definitely, it needs to be first retest or so first retest is really it needs to be like the first retest that you take the trade on. And so if the zone has never been retested before, those are the high probability trades that we are wanting to be set up on. So when you're on the higher time frames, such as daily, weekly, or monthly, you're pretty much looking for strong qualified supply and demand. On top of that, when you zoom in to that certain supply and demand zone that you find on those higher time frames, definitely zooming in will be more on the hourly level, and that's where we're gonna really see these the the order flow of the price in that zone. So is all it's saying is that on those supply and demand zones that you have drawn out, where you see the market has completely trended away very quickly, you're coming to the smaller time frames so that you can pretty much see the order flow up close and personal, and then you can know where to definitely take your trades. This is going to be order flow here at the top, and it definitely looks like supply, as you can see. And so it just kind of like let us pretty much be in the area of supply, and you kind of know where to be at in that zone. Yes, I do take in considerations the wicks, because this is giving me the very high of that price. With order flow, it would supply, you want to be at the highest price that there is in this basing area. This is a base, and it's just pretty much a base to where it just quickly came in and came out. This is also pretty much order flow here. So this lets you know that the bigger banks and bigger players are setting their orders here. So this right here is order flow. Order flow definitely does looks very similar, and most will say that it is considered to be supply and demand pretty much. But this does give you a pretty good look at that entire area. And most people will want to outline from the open and close of these candles to the high of the wicks. So we were to definitely get this outline, which it probably would be easier to pretty much outline it with just a rectangle in this case, in that way that I am. Okay, so this right here definitely allows me to see this entire zone, and this is marked and outlined with this entire area from the open and close of these candles all the way to the very high of it. So anywhere in the zone, definitely the upcoming trades can take place. So also, with that being said, you do want to look at on the continuation patterns when it comes down right here. This is basically a drop base drop. We covered that in part one. And also in this basing where you see that the on the down when it came down where the price came down here and where it retraced a little higher, boom, and made a base and then drop, retraced back higher in price and then made a drop. These are also going to be considered order flow as well. Um, and so these will be areas where you pretty much could outline because you know that on that trend up or even the retracing of the same continuation formation, it can serve as um, supply in this case because it is a downtrend. So if we were to just pretty much pinpoint some of this order flow here, here's a level. It did pretty much retrace here, and this is and not saying that you want to draw these to where it's just completely obsessive, but at the same time, it does replace this. So on this trend down here, you see that it retraced back up to this price here, and so pretty much there is the low, you pretty much have the high of this base and then the low of this base. When the market dropped down and retraced here, as you can see, this price came here to the low of that base, and then it caused that was fresh order flow, and that fresh order flow of sell orders continued the 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 trend down, and so that's where the continuation comes in at. And even when it based here and dropped on this pretty much dropped and rallied back up as far as the retracement within the same continuation pattern here, you will see that it definitely came back to order flow that was formed here. So this right here was pretty much that fresh order flow. And then as you can see, it just continued to replace itself as far as becoming no being no longer original order flow here, and this made a new level of original order flow. And when the market came back to that same price, even within this same trend down here, as you can see, it continued with the sales because this fresh original order flow here definitely allowed the market to continue on down with those sale orders that was placed here. So this is pretty much sale orders that was placed there. Pretty much order flow. I'm just gonna try to quickly get this typed up. I don't want this video to be really lasting too long. So this became order flow, as you can see, and it just continued with the continuation pattern that was making a drop base drop. And so every time that it even retraced back up in price within the same trend, the order flow pretty much caught it. So all this is saying is that even if you didn't catch it from the zone here, you will see a lot of orders being placed at the fresh supply that's being formed on the way down. So since this supply level, which it pretty much looked like basis, like I said, order flow is gonna look pretty much like basis, and so it has that appearance and looks just to be that rally base rally, and pretty much saying that the base is going to be the order flow that's formed on the way down. So every time it makes a base, that's order flow pretty much formed. And you'll see a lot of people who didn't take the sell up here, they are pretty much jumping on the sales that was these new locations that you can enter in on this trend down pretty much. And so this is order flow that's being created on the way down. And you'll see a lot of people taking advantage. So now that we come down with the continuation pattern, here goes a whole nother pattern within that trend down. Here's that drop base rally. So now that this is rallying up, you'll notice that every base over here that was created, when we're trending up, these are going to be areas to where the market is going to tend to trend down, and pretty much causing the formation of a rally base rally. And so this right here is the reason why the rally base rally is being formed, because of the drop basing drops that was formed on the way down. So everywhere order flow was created with these bases here, and or these retracement in pricing on the way down, pretty much you're going to see the same levels pretty much being retested for the first time on the way up. So you'll see people pretty much selling here, which was at the low of this base right here. So even though this was the high of it, and this right here was the close of it, this was the open and this was the low. So definitely you will see that over here it did cause a down movement based off the retest of this, pretty much this, we can even call it a peak being formed over here, on the trend down. It trended down, came back up for another retest and trended down as well. So that was like the second retest. Now that we come up for the third retest, you pretty much what you have seen is that this is the low of this entire zone here, and this is the high of it. All it has done was the orders that was placed at the low of it, this was the trend down. The orders that was placed more in the middle, that caused it to trend down as well. And then now here we are at the very high of the zone being retested, and it trends down as well. So all it does is just on that way up, it's going to be testing a lot of these areas, which this one right here is pretty much just a retest of that retracement. And so here you do see that trend down based off it getting more into the zone at the very high of this zone. And so there was a trend down, and then there you go, you had a drop, you had that drop, pretty much a drop base drop there. And so this right here formed a peak. So this basically within this whole little movement of an uptrend, you see there go the rally, the basing, and then the drop, creating an entire peak. And so that shows that reversal for quite some times. And then here it goes to retest of the order flow here. So definitely is just pretty much just this is causing the movement of the market, pretty much the orders that are being placed by individuals like myself and other hedge funds and the institutional traders and the bigger banks and this and that. So when you visually we see basis, and that is pretty much order flow, but it does take you to pretty much have to come down to the 4 hour, or you can sit on 1 hour as well, just depending on how you're trading. If this is a trade where the market has already been open for the week and you're just trying to find fresh order flow, you would need to come down more into the 4 hour and the 1 hour to see these order flow, because you need to see the basing so that you can get in. But what I would be careful on that 1 hour is that it doesn't have to play out. You already know that 1 hour is not a very high probability scenario in strength, and so you have so many scenarios to take into place, because you have to watch out for the higher time frames. If you're going to take trades on the lower time frame, which is like 1 hour or 30 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever the case may be in the minute charts, you need to always know what the bigger charts are doing. You need to always know what that bigger time frame is doing, and you have to stay out of the way of it. So it's just so much more to take in consideration when you could just stay on the higher time frames, going no lower than 4 hour and finding the order flow on 4 hour and pretty much just dominating it there. Because even when you have the retest on 4 hour, and this right here is showing you order flow, here goes the retest of that order flow, and it serves, and it gets all the way back up to the very high. So when this demand and order flow formed here, it had came from the supply here, pretty much being retested a few times and then departing. So all it did was went back in, collected more orders, and came on down, created this whole entire zone here, which created a valley, which is nothing but a drop based rally, only to form another rally based drop, and it just continues to do this over and over and over. And we already know with valleys from part one, we already know that with valleys and peaks, we see the VTC taking place. So if you're gonna use the order flow that's here, this is gonna be order flow. When you seen this form, this was gonna be order flow. So really, just to sum everything up, order flow on the downtrend is what sets you up for the next trade on the uptrend. So according to what happened on the downtrend, it's already helping me have a blueprint of what type of scenarios I can expect to try to take advantage of this whole zone here. I could have been selling and setting up because this created this whole zone here, so this is the outcome of it. And then when this demand right here was created, which is buying order flow, so demand is nothing but buying order flow. When this demand was created right here, it set me up to know that I want to be buying when price returns there. So when price came down pretty much here, retesting this, there was a buying scenario, and we took it all the way back up to supply, which if you just even with 4 hour order flow and even just this right here is pretty much 182 pips just off the 4 hour order flow. So definitely these are, setting you up for your future trades. So any order flow or any supply that's being formed on the trend down is going to be the supply that you're going to be able to sell it on the trend up. And the demand that is being formed on the trend up is where you will have to set up at for buying on that trend down. So all order flow is just getting you set up, letting you know where to take your trades based off these levels. We know that big money has to be here because it pretty much lifted it up very well. It came flying out of that zone. I mean, it tapped it a few times, but it definitely came on out. And when retested, it proved to definitely be strong, and it served what it had done here based on past history. Over here, back in 11/8 of obviously last year. So definitely, all you're doing is just taking in consideration order flow. So we connect that order flow is nothing but really supply and demand zone. Order flow creates that zone for supply and demand because it shows us that orders has to be here because of how it immediately moved out of these zones. And when it came to this zone, if you was already set up based off drawing it over here, this let you know that, hey, if price ever returns here, I want to be selling it again. Boom, takes it on down to the same area, and there you go, playing ping pong over and over and over. So if you can definitely connect the dots, all of this stuff is connected. It is so much information, but the information is the same. And if you could just wrap your head around it and keep it simple, this will definitely be something that you can hone in. It can be a craft that you can definitely hone in on, and you can take advantage of it, and you can definitely do it from anywhere in the world. You can do it as long as you want, as aggressive as you want, as laid back as you want. It is so personal. That's the reason why I love it. But if you could just hone in to what is being taught to you and not so much feeling overwhelmed with the information that you're taking in. Just break it on down. Go ahead and just completely dissect it. And that's going to be just that game changer for you. So if you can go ahead and look at order flow as being just the area of where the supply and demand zones are being created, do take in consideration the wick, which shows you the high of the candles, and just to the open and close in this entire zone is fair play. So definitely, this is just simple. Order flow is pretty much a simple technique that was taught. If you can, just go and get the background education on it, and that's in the video. But I'm just showing you the visual of application of it. So this is how you just applying it to the charts, and we're gonna keep this stuff simple. We're gonna keep it simple when it comes to supply and demand, and it's simple when it comes to order flow too. Order flow is nothing but your supply and demand. Order flow has created that zone for you because we clearly see that these orders are being placed here and moving the market in a downward direction. We clearly see the orders has been placed here at demand and moving the market in an upward direction. And when we're tested for the first time, we're there, boom, and it's just flying. And we don't care. And here you go, like if you do an analysis and say if you were in this the first time around and it trended down, when it returned, get back in the trade and sell it again. When you're here and you see that this is pretty much taking its time and coming, pretty much out of the zone, do not neglect the analysis. Do not neglect what you feel in your core, to know that this is what my education has taught me. So I'm here buying it, and when it retested again, I'm buying it again because it has to show me that it is not going to work. Let it break the zone. Let it break the zone. Even here, when it got down more into order flow, it already tested it twice. So here, all it did was this over here. This is order flow too. So if I'm telling you that order flow is pretty much the basing on this basing rally, this is order flow too. So all this was doing was hitting at the top of this order flow. Even when it pierced down into it, it just got here to the low of this order flow over here. Connect the dots. So there you go. Even if it stopped you out here, take the trade again, get back in it and go for the buy. And so that's just what it is. Like, don't be afraid to definitely stick it to the market with your education. And you have to really believe in your education. You have to believe it in your core, and you have to be confident so that you can stick these 200, 300, 400,000 pip trades out, because it's going to take confidence for you to hold that trade for the longest and not be wigged out and not be intimidated out of your trade. And so definitely just keep applying this, because it's all over the market. It's just completely what it is that you see. Boom, boom, boom. It bounced there for quite some time and finally broke out of it on the trend down. On the trend down, only just to continue creating order flow in the basis that it's making on the retracement. These are the areas where you're setting up for the sale. If you seen it in the base drop here, you seen that these levels were swarmed. Why not mark out those levels? Because when it retraced back up to that level, you can already have that marked out saying, hey, let me sell this, and boom, it paid you. So when you look at these charts and you're seeing trend up, trend down, you're seeing peak and valleys, you're seeing continuation patterns, what that should translate to you as is a high probability trade or a setup or money. All of this should just look like money. Hey, I know how to take advantage of this. This is what the market is presenting me, and I'm going to know how to take full advantage of what the market is pretty much presenting me. Pretty much. So definitely keep taking in consideration that I'm going to give this my time. I'm going to give it my full attention. I'm going to connect these dots, and I'm going to dissect the information, and I'm going to apply it to the charts, and I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be definitely in tune with what it is that I'm saying that I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and know the plan. If I want this full time, I want this for real. I see this for myself. This is exactly what I've been looking for. When I seen it, it stuck out to me. Ding, 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 ding. Just let it go. Just completely give yourself to it, and it will pay. I promise. So just dissect it and break it down. Do not overcomplicate it. Do not make it more complicated than what it is. Keep it simple. Analyze on the weekend while the market is closed. All you pretty much doing is connecting the dots and applying the information. So if you stick to what's high probability and what your criteria is, then you definitely should be well on your way. This is the wrap of part 2, applying information. See you soon.